it is such a hot issue, and companies are dealing with this all the time, no more so than when it comes to the minimum wage, the fast food industry, and doesn't McDonald's CEO Steve Easterbrook know it? He, of course, has been one of those who has, in fact, at McDonald's, raise the minimum wage, or at least for the workers over which it has direct control at McDonald's-owned restaurants. In localities about $1 more than it is in those localities. That's not the $15 that some are demanding, but Mr. Easterbrook would no doubt argue it is a start. Steve Easterbrook, our special exclusive guest right now. Good to have you.
Thank you. Good to be here. Good to see you.
Love your food, but I digress. Apparently a lot of Americans do too. We're going to break down your earnings and the big turnaround and the surprise. And proof, as I always told you, that if you did offer breakfast during the day, you'd be on fire. But I can't single-handedly hold you up. But enough about me. Let's talk about this wage debate.
Right.
As soon as you offered it, and Walmart and others, TJ Maxx, similarly did as well, it was immediately greeted by not enough. You can do more. What do you say?
I mean, there's always going to be those who are always going to want to push you further. But the reality is we're sensitive to the discussion, and we have made an initial step. And I think that was really important. So
when you said initial step, this dollar over the prevailing wage.
So for the restaurants which we own, so the company-owned restaurants, which is around 10% of the restaurants here in the US, we've gone to $1 above the local legal minimum. And it wasn't just the pay, actually. We've enhanced some of the training and the development opportunities and education assistance and English as a second language. So it was a comprehensive upgrade of the package, if you like.
Now, what are your franchisees doing? Because like you say, they account for 90% of your restaurants. A lot of folks don't understand how that works. But I'm sure those franchisees were a little upset.
Well, they're independent businessmen and women, right? So they do set their own pay scales.
But they carry that McDonald's sign.
And they've been expert at managing their pay over time anyway. So many were above the minimum wage, and because they've seen the benefits from it. The reality is we're in a service business and we're competing for talent. And if we can attract, train and retain a motivated workforce, ultimately the customer benefits. We get more stability, we reduce turnover, productivity goes up, and actually the customer experience is enhanced. So
but I guess what I'm asking you, and maybe I'm not clear, is at what level are you enhancing that experience and then cutting into your bottom line? Because raising it by $1, I mean, people forget you raise it by $1 around this area, that's a 15% pay raise. It's a significant pay raise.
It's significant.
Having said that, there are many who argue, no, we don't want 15%, we want $15. Now, where do you, as a pretty savvy businessman, you've turned this company around in a matter of months, where do you have to factor in how you keep good talent without almost shutting your stores down?
Well, we certainly won't be planning the latter, that's for sure. Right. But we know we want to be competitive. As I say, this is about attracting the best talent in the service sector. So we will always keep a keen and close eye on
All right, so
pay.
You're in the Seattle area where a lot of politicians have pushed this $15 rate and are getting it, extracting it out of businesses. But that's hard for you to compete with. What do you do in a region like that?
Well, it's hard for the company owner, and it's even tougher for the owner-operators. So these men and women tend to run, on average, 4 or 5 restaurants. So that's a significant impact on their
So what do those folks tell you in those regions, Steve? Do they say,
what we've got to do, what we are doing is working hard to drive growth in the business to try and absorb some of these kind of hyperinflationary costs. So ultimately, you can only manage what you can manage. And what we can do is run our business better, run better restaurants, have more compelling and attractive customer experience options, grow the top line, and help manage some of this cost inflation.
Could I ask you what workers who are above the minimum wage workers think about when their pay is raised? Then they want their pay raised, right?
So we flexed all of them up as well. So we assessed every single employee within our employment. Not everyone went up by $1, but we actually had we flexed.
But isn't there? I know you have a motivated workforce. Hard to do because a lot of times you just hire kids in high school, college, what have you. Is that getting out there? Do people realize that they almost think that you're starving families or whatever? What is the breakdown of your minimum wage workers? Do you know offhand?
Breakdown by what? So
how many are school kids? How many is it their sole source of income?
So we're above the minimum wage now in all of our company-owned restaurants.
I understand that. So the rap is from those who argue for a much higher minimum wage, Steve, is that, well, this is their sole means of support. Now, there are less than 2 million nationally on the minimum wage, a fraction of the overall workforce. But how many in your restaurants, franchisees or others, is this their sole means? Or is it a kid going to school, and this is added income?
So we have a mixture of full-time and kind of part-time employees. Some, as you say, it's just supplementary cash to help them through school and just give them a bit of spending money. For others, it's more of a career choice. So what we do want to make sure is if we can offer the full hours to our full-time employees, they earn a fair wage and they can pay their bills, they can raise their families and be optimistic about the future. And we do paint a very clear and very achievable career path as well. So
do you think we should have Ben Carson, before he reverses, a two-tier wage, get a two-tier wage going, a starter wage for young kids, a higher wage for those for whom this is their sole means of support?
And we have that in other countries around the world as well. So there are different options to this. The reality is we want to treat all our employees fairly. And if you work hard and you're a 28-year-old and you work hard or you're an 18-year-old, we believe that you deserve the same pay. So that's important to us. But also
really,
getting
you're a 28-year-old and this is your sole means of support versus an 18-year-old who's doing this while going to school.
And if you're building your career and you're seeing the opportunities and development opportunities, then and you can aspire to that, then we have a fantastic track record of enabling our staff to progress through, become assistant managers, salaried managers,
CEO.
And beyond. Well, one or two people get fortunate enough to have the position, that's for sure.
Yeah, I hear that. All right, can you stick around so we pay our bills, and then we'll talk a little bit about
Happy to.
How you seem to be paying your bills here. Remember, a lot of people laughed at this gentleman and everyone else when they were talking about bringing back breakfast sandwiches and the like the rest of the day. Well, Mr. Easterbrook appears to be having the last laugh now. Not so traders in general. McDonald's, one of those stocks down today, but it joins a lot of others. This stock in and out of highs again after getting shellacked. But the market itself is down almost 200 points, largely on fears that are being echoed by one Fed official after another today that rates indeed are going to be going up next month.